Welcome to this episode of the T. Price Experience. And today we have a great assembly of men, and there's going to be some more to come on. This was something that touches my soul and touches the heart of what a lot of things are experiencing today. This segment is Take Off Your Superman Cape. Men struggle too. Yes, men do struggle. Ladies, you just don't have, it's not just you that's going through things. Men go through a lot of things, but sometimes we mask those things just to be strong or to appear to be strong to the world out there. So we're going to really kind of dive into this to help other men out there, other young men out there from ages 18 and up, to really understand what's going on, how you can maneuver through things, and that this Superman cape is a great thing, but it's a bad thing at the same time. So we have to learn how to take off that cape throughout our day or throughout our week, throughout our lives, and be able to be vulnerable and be open for discussion. So we have a great multitude of plethora of men here. If each one of you can kind of introduce yourself. I'm gonna start with the doc, Dr. Fingers.
Good evening, or good afternoon, whatever time you may be viewing this, but I'm Dr. Ernie Fingers. I am a native of the nation's capital. I am now residing in the state of Florida, and really looking forward to this evening, this event. My background has been in psychology, higher ed, and human resources. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a mentor, I am a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I, try to get out and I love people. So I'm all about trying to bring about solutions for our community. So thank you for having me, T. Price.
Thank you. And next, we're going to go to Mr. Stephen Scott.
Hey, my name is Stephen Scott Jr. I'm here from Somerville, South Carolina. I'm a UPSer. I consider myself, I guess, still to be a barber. I've been a barber for over 25 years. I'm a father. I have two kids. Both of them are in their mid-20s now. And I mean, I attend church, but most of all, my identity is a Christian man. And I just look at things, and my identity first is rooted in Christ. And that's just what I like to exude. And I mean, my actions, I would hope, speak louder than my words. But as my identity goes, first of all, I'm a Christian, then I'm a husband, then I'm a father, and then everything else falls in line after that. Just like I said, I've worked for UPS for 23 years, and I'm also involved with my church. I work a lot with the men. I have previously been one of the men's ministry coordinators at Faith Assembly in Somerville, and we do a lot of different things. Actually, right now I'm a instructor over. We pretty much have several different men's groups that are going, but I'm over the 5:30 on Tuesday mornings. My guys meet, and we pick different curriculums, and this forum is something that kind of what we do on Tuesday mornings. Just different topics that men go through, and that environment provides a safe place for men to be able to discuss things and realize that none of us are really going through anything alone. So it's a pleasure for me to be here with you guys.
Mr. Tim Kemp.
Good evening, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
If I look a little crazy right here, I'm just leaving basketball practice. It's that time of year. I don't know why I let them talk me back into this thing, but we're getting ready for the state championship run. So after leaving church, I came here to the gym. I'm actually a retired school administrator, coach, whatever you want to call it, down here in a little town called Social Circle, Georgia. I kept wondering where the name came from. Still can't figure it out, but I think they have a well. Everybody used to socialize at the well down there. But been in this business for over 30 years, almost 40 years, and just enjoy working with kids. The more we can keep them off the streets and teach them and hold them accountable, I feel we'll produce young men. Teach one, reach one. So I'm originally from Beaufort, Frogmore, South Carolina, down in Gullah Geechee Nation down there. I think Coach Price know about that area.
Yeah.
but ended up here in Georgia. So I understand what's going on and hear what's going on. I hope I can learn something here and add something. Like the young man said earlier about Christian being a child of God. I believe that by His mercy and grace, I'm still here. With some of the things I've experienced over these years, I'm happy that I'm still here. As I said, every day my feet on the ground and toes pointed straight ahead. It's a great day. And when I'm hurting, that means my senses are still working. So I'm great. I'm good.
Cool. Mr. Jamal Worley.
Hello, can everybody hear me? Y'all can hear me?
Yes.
Hear me okay. Okay, good. Hello, everybody. I'm Jamal Worley. I have my son. He's 8 years old. I'm married. Been married for 10 years now. Been in the post office for 10 years and live right here in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. I'm a member of Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church, and like my brother Scott said, I like as since I've turned my life over to Christ, that's the way I try to view life, is through Christ's lens. And again, that's that I identify my identity is in Christ. But like you said, this form, men struggle too, and it's we'll get into that. We'll get into that. But that's the short bit of me right there.
And Mr. Marcus Stevens.
All right, like you said, Marcus Stevens. I'm from Macon, Georgia. Former athlete, Coach Price. Right now, newly married. She had a child when we got married, and I had a child as well. I actually got out the porch a little early. I was 18 when I first had my first child. We have 4, well, we have 3 now. I got 1 on the way.
Congratulations.
Staying in Noonan, Georgia right now. And I grew up in the church, but yeah, I'm a PK now. I didn't grow up a PK, but you know, my dad's a pastor now, but that's pretty much it. I'm excited to see, you know, what this conversation is about.
Cool, cool.
Oh, and also I'm a member of Mega Psi Phi fraternity. So root to the bros.
Oh boy. Well, as the only alpha on this line, let's get started. You know, pretty much, you know, this platform was really to talk about the Superman cape, and you know, really that the men struggle too. That was the main thing, is taking off that cap, that Superman cape. So I guess my first question is kind of really is, what does the Superman cape represent to you? That terminology. And it is free.
I mean, to me, it implies what it stands for, Superman. I mean, when you think of Superman, you think of, I mean, one of the most powerful superheroes. You know, he can do everything. He's super strong. He can, you know, he saves lives. He's just, and for me, that means, you know, as a man, being a Superman in your household, it's like you know, you got to provide. You gotta provide. You got to take care of this person. You got to take care of that person. You got to take care of this person. You know, you're taking care of everybody. That's what it for me.
And to me, I feel like, and this is from experience, I've been married for over 25 years. It's an unrealistic expectation. There is no such thing as a Superman. We all have different pitfalls, all of us. You know, the biggest thing that we have to learn is that the best way to be a leader, whether it's your family or whether it's, you know, in your church, on your job, whatever the case might be, is to be able to realize that we can all learn from each other, and that none of us can do it by ourselves. So that Superman mentality a lot of times cripples us, because it allows us to not be able to admit our weaknesses and not to be able to seek out help, because Superman don't need no help. But as a I mean, as a husband, as a father, as a Christian, I mean, you have to have communication with your wife. You have to have an open view of things with your kids. And that Superman cape really cripples you because it allows you to have a false sense of being able to carry it all. And I don't know anybody that can carry it all. And so I don't know if that's a fair assessment of the question, but when I think about it, I just know when, I mean, part of my story is, you know, I was married for 10 years and then I got divorced. And by the grace of God, he allowed me to get back with my wife. So we were actually separated for a year. And then after that year separation, we were divorced for a year, but then we were blessed to, by God's grace, we were able to come back together. And I realized that I didn't know how to make things work. When getting back into that relationship, I knew what didn't work, but I didn't know what worked. You know, I had a lot of different things that I looked at, and a lot of times we look at things and we look at it from a worldly lens. But when we got back together, I was saved and sanctified, filled with the Holy Spirit. And God placed men around me to show me how to walk this thing out together, that none of us were perfect. We all needed each other, but also, you know, you have to pick up healthy habits and to be able to apply those habits, you know, to your life and implement the things, learn from other people's mistakes. And the only way that people can learn from your mistakes is if you open up and admit that you've made mistakes. And I think that a lot of time as men, that's where we fall short. We wear that cape and really we're suffering inside.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know, as we look at Superman and we think about the word that comes to mind is invincible. We believe that, again, Superman can't be defeated, but yet sometimes we forget, what is Superman's weakness? Kryptonite. So we know he has some vulnerabilities, but we oftentimes don't see them. So I think that we have our vulnerabilities, but oftentimes we don't want to share them because, again, we don't want to let anybody know that we are at times weak. But I think when we have, and it's not everyone is of Christian faith. So when we talk about being able to admit when we are weak, because we know that when we admit that we are weak, then we become strong in him, but we don't want to admit the weakness. So that becomes a challenge that we have to balance is when and where, but also looking at who has the expectation of us being invincible, who has the expectation of us being perfect men. And that to me is that first question is, are you looking at somebody else's expectations, or are you setting that unrealistic level for yourself?
Answer that. What how y'all said it, you know, I know what Stephen was talking about with the cape is kryptonite in itself, you know, because you become so enmassed into all the things that you think you believe that you have to be strong for. I have to be there for my wife. I have to be there for my kids. I have to be there for the community. I have to be there for my family. But yet, what happens when we need somebody to fall back onto? So, you know, the kryptonite is we become so strong that we forget about self and how do we deal with our inter relationship with ourself and our mental well-being, our social well-being. You know, sometimes we get so amassed with maybe the family side of things is that I got to provide for my family. I got to have this money. And then if the money doesn't come in, oh man, I'm stuck and I don't know who to vent to, you know. And we all have those things where we definitely, I'm one of those people, you know, if I have to come to you, definitely I'm on my last leg. There's that, but that's that Superman complex, you know, of taking, I gotta learn how to take that cape off a little bit more expediently than be put so much down on drowning in life. And so I see those synergies between what both of you said in there. Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, I just want to say, well, I want to ask a question because Doc, Ernie, you said admitting that we're weak. I can admit to God all day. Like I can sit down and pray all day and say, hey, it's low too heavy for me. But
yeah,
you know, from my experience, I don't necessarily want to tell the woman I'm with, hey, I can't handle this. This is too much for me. You know what I'm saying? So who are we admitting we're weak to?
Well, I think that if we hold God in his proper place, we say only person that can judge me is who?
God.
God. So honestly, when you talk about everybody else and not being able to share with your wife or somebody else, this is where we get stuck. And I believe in our sort of on our own head space, instead of staying in the spiritual space, we look at it from, again, ego. I don't want to, again, seem weak. I don't want to seem less than, because compared to that other dude act like he ain't got no problems, which we know everybody got some problems, but you looking at yourself comparatively speaking when you say, I don't want to show. Because I mean, what you worried about? You're gonna lose her, you're gonna lose them people in your life if you show any weakness, because that in itself exposes to you who God needs or who God may have placed around you. I think this is just my mentality.
Mhm.
Anytime you bring something up to someone, if they don't, I want to say, fall towards the side of being supportive of you, now they got to be realistic with you, and you want some real people. But when people maybe come at you and make you feel like you weak or you're less than, then you got to make a decision about what your circle look like, you know? So I think that we just got to, again, honor God and allow him to move us, not man. Man shouldn't be influencing us to that point where we're not real.
And then also, if you don't mind me to piggy bank off of that, to some degree, and not really to some degree, when you look at your relationship, especially with your wife, outside of God, that's the closest person that should be in your circle, and she's your helpmate. She's there to help you. And a lot of times we become isolated and start putting up walls. When you can't talk to your wife about something, then it places a wall there where we can't discuss finances, or we can't discuss this going on or that going on. I mean, it has to be open and honest, and y'all have to work through things as a unit together. And if a lot of times we'll get frustrated with our wives or significant others because, they don't understand, but guess what? They don't understand because we're not talking to them. And so what I had to realize is like I said, I always looked at the 10 years before, and now I used to say the 10 years after, but now it's been 15 years after. You have to create healthy habits. I mean, you have to date your wife. You have to sit there and spend that time with her and talk to her about things that she's going through, and then about things that you are going through as well. But one invaluable lesson that was taught to me and that I learned, you said that you pray, but are you praying with her? Are you praying over her? Are y'all praying together? That creates an environment where God can enter in. And as you're praying and as you're asking God for things, as you're thanking God for things, it allows God to enter into the picture and it come into the marriage and then heal it from things that you don't even know that you're struggling from, but you're opening up to God, but you're doing that not just in your own prayer closet, but praying with your wife, and then also praying as a family unit. If you've got God first, he's going to take care of those things, but we have to be able to vocalize in order for things to come to pass, because if we keep it to ourselves, our wives don't know, those people around us, those brothers that we're mentoring or that we're meeting with, our accountability partners, if you're not open and honest with them, the solution is right there in the midst of people. We're God's hands and feet here on earth. And you could be the answer to what my prayers are dependent. It could be somebody that I went to school with or this, that, and other, and I know that they need prayer. They might be your next door neighbor. And by you opening up and being available and being open and honest, you can help them through what they're going through. I mean, I really believe that we're all the answers to someone's prayers, because we are God's hands and feet here on earth. And if we look at it that way, and if we live according to those premises, I mean, things can really get done because God's will be done through us.
And another thing I saw was it says that, your wife is supposed to be your helpmate, and it's supposed to make things better for you. So if they're supposed to be your helpmate, how can they help you if you don't tell them what the problem is, and allow them to help in some way? And then, I remember it was a pastor who was online was saying that, the women are the incubators. They multiply everything. So either they're going to give you multiply in the greatness, or multiply it in the worst. So it's all in what you bring to them is how they're going to multiply it. So, you know, so there's ways that you can talk to your wife if you have the, and hopefully, or your significant other. That's what you're trying to build into that relationship with, and make it create. But for you, my brother, it's about, you know, you got to let it go, you know, and sometimes you might have to be bounce. The first thing, since that is your wife, is to bounce it off of her and see what she has to say. Then if there's things that she can't help you with, then it's finding the next entity that's going to, so whether that's but you got to make sure who you're talking to, and who's giving you advice for things. So you have to make sure that they fit within your circle. So I guess that's the other thing is what defines your circle of expertise, or people who are there to be placed to help you. You know, if I have so many people in my circle, or who's supposed to be in my circle, and they've let me down time and time again, I think there needs to be somebody booted out the circle. You know, but you know, but sometimes we as men have that the defiancy that we don't want to let go of people we knew from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or all lifetime, who have a tendency of, or shown that they've not been for our back, but we want to hang on them because they were the cool people at that time and period. And we want to make sure we keep those connections that way. But yet those people are not good for you and have not shown to be good for you and for your uplift.
You know, one of the questions that comes to mind, though, and I think that we all, again, this is that whole psychology sort of background, and I hope that everybody to jump in. In what places are you able, and around what people have you felt comfortable being your authentic self, your real deal? I ain't got to be pump faking people. Who are those people that just understand you, and they ain't looking at you sideways when you say something or do something, because they understand who you are? Who are those people that we are truly authentic with, or as close to being 100% authentic with?
Can you ask that question again?
What people in your life, and as Brother Price just said, in our circles, you look at your different circles, who are those people you are able to be your authentic, true self? Who can you be real with and around?
For me, if I can't be myself, I don't need to be around you. I'm gonna be me wherever I go, and I'm an open nut fool wherever I go. I like to have fun. I like to conversate with people. Just looking for people that still have the same common interests. Everything that you guys have mentioned already, you know, I learned something from my wife years ago. We were at a track meet at the University of Georgia, coached the high school track meet, and my co-worker's wife was there. And she asked my wife about going to the track meets and et cetera, et cetera. She said, I don't go to every track meet because if I'm gone all the time, if we're gone all the time, who's going to take care of the home? Which made some sense to me. And I've had to do some apologizing to my wife the past few years, because when I stop and look at it, I was always gone involved with this. And she's at home taking care of the kids and doing this and doing that. And sometimes I leave early and I come back late. And I've had to apologize. So empty nesters now, we're enjoying each other even more, because now we're able to sit and talk about things. There's some things that I've done in life that I'm not proud of, and a lot of things that I am proud of. But like I said, it's not me. The things that I do that are good, I give the good Lord credit. The things that I do that are bad, I take full credit for it. And some of them I'll probably take to my grave with me. One of the gentlemen mentioned being away from home for a year and divorced and remarried, etc. I went through 6 months of that. The Superman effect, I remember Coach Jet Johnson used to tell us we thought we were the indispensable men, that we thought that we wouldn't be, well, the team would miss us if we're not there. He would tell that story. And basically when he passed at his funeral, I remember Dr. Hunter mentioning that little did we know that Coach was talking about himself. I always feel that if I can't let God use me to make a difference in somebody's life, I'm not doing doing justice to no one. So I can't take credit for the good, but give the good Lord credit, because it's always about helping someone else. But then you have to have that me time to sit back and evaluate me to see where I am in this life. And most of all, am I doing what Christ would have me to do? So in saying that, my circle of people, I always say, if I'm the smartest one in my group, I need to find another group to hang with, because I've been around some men before that try to influence me to do something against God's will and my will and my standards. So holding myself accountable for the things that I say and do is something that I try to do on a daily basis, and give God thanks that He allowed me to be here another day.
I think I agree with what you were saying, especially about how you conduct yourself on a daily basis. When we talk about consistency, that's what everybody see. Whether you say, it's not always what you say, but what you do. But with me, all of my stuff starts within my home. You know, with my wife, with my kids. Like I said, they're adults now, but it starts, you know, with them. But then when I leave outside the house, it goes to, you know, my men's group. You know, we draw strength from each other. We hold each other accountable. But then, like I said, just like what the brother was just saying right before me, that, you know, when I go to work, guess what? It doesn't, you don't cut it off. You're the same person no matter where you go. But we all sometimes have struggles, and we need people to pour into us. I believe in your circle, you should have someone that's more mature than you, some that are right there along with you, but then others that are learning from you. That circle continues to grow and evolve, because if everybody's pouring in, I mean, even that person that is quote unquote less mature than me, I can learn a lot from him as well. But you have to listen, and you have to have a heart and a mind to want to learn, and to understand that you don't have all the answers. And just because somebody is younger than you doesn't mean that they can't teach you something, or that they might be doing something that you aren't familiar with. But if you open up and listen to them, you know, you can learn a lot from them as well. But I believe that your circle should be diverse. You should always have someone that's pouring into you, and then in turn, you should also have someone that you're pouring into as well.
You know, I look at it with my circle. You know, I got a lot of family, especially on dollar dealings on my mom's side, of just having where we can just talk, shoot the breeze, and, you know, we may not agree all the time, but yet we can talk. But then, as I look at even this multitude of people here on this line, you know, it's just like, all of you have made a difference in me. So I take something from all of you, even from, you know, look at Marcus, who was a former student athlete of mine. You know, I listen, and it's, sometimes when you're in an authoritative position, you think you can't learn nothing from that person underneath you. But I listen to everybody's story, and I take knowledge from every situation. So again, that's why Marcus, I brought you on here, because it's like, hey, you know, there's something more I can learn from another younger person from me, and then somebody out there can learn something from them too. So it's always a never-ending story when it comes down to learning. Now, my circle, you know, within the church, you know, I got my pastor, I have my other deacons that's there, and then everybody there at my church in Newhart Christian Center in Daytona Beach. They really come in and try to be there for you, and they're always asking, "Are you okay? Is everything going well with you?" And, you know, and I think that's one of the other things that we have a problem with. Sometimes everybody asks us how we doing. The first thing we say, "I'm all right," you know, but you're not. So these are the people that I kind of pour into. And I'm gonna tag back on after I give everybody another attention, because something you said, Stephen, a little later.
It's something else on the tag. Something else on the tag on. You know, marriage is an institution. When I look back on it, when you're a single man, you're used to doing what you want to do whenever you want to do, and going wherever you want to go. Because, you know, I was raised in the church. I'm not a PK kid, but my mom was, if the church door was open, you had to be there. And we went to church, seems like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So with that being said, when I left home, going to Orangeburg, South Carolina, and I was going to do everything that I was big and bad and bold enough to do. And after started working here, I could only watch so many TBS movies and NFL football games, and something drew me. I'm not going to say something. I knew what it was that drew me back. The Holy Spirit drew me back to church, because you got to go back to the storehouse to learn. And as I always tell my church members and pastor, I come on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights, I'm trying to get some more that I can bring outside the door of the church to help someone else. Because again, it's all about helping someone else. But back to what I'm saying about the wife, marriage it can be crazy. It can be, because you're not that single person anymore that can jump up and leave at the spur of a moment, because she want to know where you're going, she want to know where you've been, etc. But we're at a point now, it don't even matter. If I leave home, whenever I come back, hey, she know that I'm somewhere where I'm safe, because it's crazy out here now. And even when our son comes home, I always tell him, even though you're a grown man, let us know where you are, particularly in this community, because not everybody loves Coach Kemp like that, because there's some kids that I've had to discipline, people that I've had to discipline, and they're mad with me because I'm doing my job, because I'm not allowing them to do things that's detrimental to someone else, and most of all to themselves. So it's, I don't know. I'm just saying, it's marriage it's a beautiful thing. I'll put it like that, particularly as you get older. Almost 40 years into it. Hey, I don't mind chasing mama around the house.
Jamal, you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to talk about, my comfortable circle. So my comfort circle, where I feel most comfortable with, would be, pretty much my family. I don't hang around too many other places, or hang around too many other folks. And like you said, I'm not sure who said it, but you said, you're gonna. I think that was Kim that said, "I'm gonna be myself wherever I go. I'm gonna be myself wherever I go." And I'm gonna be comfortable wherever I'm not, because if I'm not comfortable, I'm just not gonna be there. But at work, I'm comfortable at the people at work, my church family, and those, that's my circle that I'm comfortable with. But where I find the most struggle with, even though I'm comfortable, I still struggle with opening up. Like I think I'm naturally reserved. I don't really talk too much. I'm just naturally reserved to myself. But that's where I struggle with. I think a lot of other brothers struggle with the same thing. It's just opening up to people. And like you said, Ty, when people ask you, "Hey, you okay? You okay?" You be like, "Yeah, I'm okay," but no, you're really not. Or I mean, and it might be a fleeting feeling, but I mean, at the moment, you might not be okay. And what I've been learning more to do, and especially through this we're doing we're on a consecration at our church, and I've been learning that in my consecration was just opening up. That was one of the things I struggle with, is just opening up.
Now, Brother Worley, as you just said, and I just to point out something, I think for a lot of folks that may be watching, when you say that it's difficult at those moments, maybe a fleeting moment, when somebody asks you, and Brother Price said this as well, when somebody say, "Hey, how you doing?" and you say, "I'm all right, I'm good." Now, when you don't share that, who is that person that you will share those moments, or that moment? Who can you actually be real when they say, "How you doing?" Like when you really got a little something going on, but all we keep doing around the world, when you walk into the office, they say, "Hey, good morning, brother. How you doing?" You say, "I'm good. I'm all right." Who are those people when you ain't feeling all right that you will share with? And that's for everybody, not just you, brother, but everybody. That's when I talk about that circle. That's the importance of having those people. And again, being authentic. And it's not everybody that we can be authentic with, because sometimes it's a variety of reasons. But who, again, I'm throwing it back out there. Who is that group? Who is that person that you, when you ain't having a good day, and you really can share?
My first go-to is my wife. That's my wife. That's probably the only person. But even with her, sometimes I'll be reserved. But you know,
Amen,
we're
brother.
yeah,
That's
and
real.
even with that, I'll be reserved. And just like we're talking about, not to not show weakness. I don't want her to think I'm weak, but it's just like I don't know. It's just, you know, you still hold. There's some things you would just hold back. I don't know if naturally as a man to do, but
Yeah,
she'll have to get it out of me. Is what I'm saying. She's
yeah,
like, no, you're not. What's really bothering? And but she's been with me long enough to know that, hey, I'm not telling you. You're not telling me everything. Come on, give it all to me.
yeah. And I think that's a great example. And that's what I wanted someone to be able to share, because even with the person you're closest to, there are times when we don't put it all out there. And I think it's really difficult to be 100% who you are everywhere, because again, I love the Lord. And Coach Price hear me say this often. I love the Lord, but sometimes I cuss. And that's just a part of who I am. Am I working on that? Absolutely. But I'm not afraid to put that vice out there. Everybody got something. Some people, oh, I can love the Lord and cuss. What's your thing? I'm telling you what my thing is. You got yours and you hide yours in your closet. But don't look at me crazy when if I'm being me, there's some things that you get a little bit more understanding when I put a little word in there for you to understand. Does that mean I don't love the Lord? I'm not in relationship with God? No, it don't. It mean I got something to work on. But when I say authentic, that's what when I'm with a certain group and I can just talk, they're not looking at me like, but then that changes. As Brother Jamal just said, there's certain things I know I want to be able to tell my wife, but I'm not always like, I say something and she don't receive it well. Like sometimes my wife, and she can be like off the, like I say something, I'm going 10 miles an hour. She take it and press on the gas and take it to 100. And I'm like, that's not where I wanted to go. And that's the part that sometimes makes me hesitant. Like I share a whole lot with my wife, but sometimes I got to give it to her on the downside of the mountain when it's getting, when I know it's getting better. Then giving it to her when it's coming to the top of the hill, because she's gonna worry me about it. How's this? And but everybody got their thing. But I think for everyone viewing, there's going to be spaces and places and people that you feel like you can. And sometimes you divide it up. You give a little bit to your circle of boys. You give a little bit to your circle. It can be like with my mom, I can share certain things, and my siblings. But to take off that cape, you got to find those spaces where you can find yourself some relief. I think everything starts for me with a prayer. Like once I can pray about it, now I believe that God will then, as Brother Scott said, there are people that are in your space for a reason. And when you pray on it first, and now you can turn it over, then you really got to listen to your spirit. And somebody going to say something and they're going to open the door for you, but we still keep the cape on and we say, nah, I got it. They try to give you a layup, but you ain't take it. You had a chance to share something, but you didn't take it. So I think we just have to be more aware that when God is trying to help us, we just got to take that help.
Well, with that, what you just said, is it that fear that, okay, again, you putting that cape back on, it's like, okay, I don't want to put too much on their plate that they got to bear what I have to deal with as well. Is that some of the things that we're afraid of, that we don't want to put too much of our stuff on their plate, that they got to bear their own stuff and our stuff? Is that something that we're afraid of as well? Is kind of what you said is just kind of made me think about that. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I can say for myself, I tell my mom some things up to a point, but then I don't want her to have to put it on that weight on her, especially how, she's older now. I don't want her to have to worry. She's already done all her worrying when I was younger, so I don't want to put up too much more onto her at this time. So, I give her what I feel she needs, but sometimes you can still see it, because when you hold something back, even from, I'm the only single guy on this panel right now, but if you hold something back from your significant other, your wife, then you know, they're gonna feel something like you're holding back. So are you being distrustful or dishonest to your significant other at the same time of not being able to, you know, because when you got married, it was like for better or for worse, if I remember correctly, you know. So what are you afraid of on that element as well? I know I can't take this to my mom, but yet I get my cousins together. Oh man, I don't care. You know, you give me as hard as you can. You know, some my great friends are good friends. Hey, well, my great friends. uh, Boom, I'm gonna put this on your plate, and I want you to help me, you know, decipher thing. I'm gonna make the decision after whatever I'm feeling, but I need some onus, some things things that I wouldn't have thought about, to how to deal with my situation. That's what I'm looking for. You know, another avenue to get to the solution.
I believe, I mean, all of us have to seek out wise counsel. I think that something that I've learned over the years, and it's come through being a part of a men's group. I mean, we all need an accountability partner, somebody that's going to walk through life with you, that knows you well enough to be able to ask you those difficult questions, them questions you don't really want them to ask you, but for you to be able to give them an honest answer and for them to hold you accountable to ask you those things. Look, you ain't said nothing about your wife in a while. Everything cool there? You know, this, that, and other. You hadn't said this. I know you got a strained relationship with one of your kids. How they doing? You know, how's your relationship? When the last time you reach out to them? I mean, the more we put it on ourselves, guess what? We could give ourselves a pass. I mean, that's just human nature. You know, whatever, it'll get better. But guess what? A lot of times it takes us to make the initiative and to make that first step. And sometimes you might have to make that first step a couple of times. But if you have people in your life that really care about you and really want what's best for you, because a lot of times once men get together, especially if it's a couple of you, you're part of a men's group and everybody, you go through different topics and you can kind of see, man, dog, I remember when I went through that. You know, you can reach out to them. You don't necessarily have to do it in a group, but you should have their number. Hey man, look, you want to get together and have something to eat, or either just talk on the phone and, you know, talk about your experience with that issue. But the more we start to speak to other men within the confines of like I said, I'm big into small groups. That's what our church does. But then even like on the job, the Holy Spirit will lead people to you. You know, there's things that other people aren't going to be comfortable talking to other people about that they're going to be able to open up to you about, but you have to be open enough with your life to be able to share your personal experiences with them. Because I mean, you can listen to a speaker, you can listen to somebody talk, and it might be motivational, but there's nothing like talking to somebody that's gone through what you're going through, you know. But the only way they're going to know if we open up and we become vulnerable and discuss those things. The more we hold it to ourselves, the less effective we are around those other people. Because there's a lot of hurting people out there, man. It's a whole lot of people that are hurting and figure that they're going through something by themselves. But 9 times out of 10, the person sitting right next to you has been through that, or guess what? They're going to be going through that if they're not going through it now. But it's just the idea of being able to be open and honest and to just, I mean, hey, we all struggle, we all make mistakes, but hopefully we're all making better decisions than what we made 5, 10, 2 years ago. But as we're growing, we have to, you know, reach out and extend a helping hand to other people so they can grow as well.
I'm big into leadership, or I say leadership. Years ago, when I was an administrator in the school system, our superintendent brought us in. He had this military guy to come in and teach us about leadership. And as we went throughout the day, you know, I became agitated because I'm like, this guy just making some money. So when we came back from lunch, I asked him, I said, I have a question for you. What if I said this? What if I said, when solving problems, when you figure out what the problem is, you come up with not one, not two, but 3 or more possible solutions, and you select one and you apply it, you evaluate it, observe it. If it doesn't work, you go back and you select another one of those other possible solutions and go through the process again until you find an answer or see that it works. And once you solve that problem, then you move on to another problem, and that's life. And he said, if you had said that earlier this morning, this would have been over a long time ago. So, and with kids, I heard someone mention something about being shy and being afraid. I ask kids all the time, what are they afraid of? Are they afraid of being successful? Because as an athlete, and I'm in the track and field like Coach Price, and I don't know if some of the other guys are. So this is all going to happen. You're going to perform. You're in the top 8. They're going to bring you and the other 7 people on the podium, and they're going to present your medals, trophies, or whatever, your name. You're going to smile. They're going to take your picture, and guess what? You're going to step down. You're either going to move on to the next level and start getting ready for the next season or the next event. And with that being said, I remember professing, and when I was at Miami-Dade in Miami, Florida, interpersonal communication, because I was very shy and still is to some extent. But I had to figure out, why am I so shy? But he said something. He asked us, he said, what does this mean to you? Words don't mean, people do. And so as everyone in the class was going around and explaining it, it finally hit me. It's not a matter of fact of what is said, but who says it? What does that person mean to me that I'm so afraid or shy to say what needs to be said? And they finally told me, he said, say what you mean and mean what you say. So that's why I keep telling people now, if you have something to say it. What's there to fear? Somebody's going to tell you no, somebody's going to tell you yes, or they're going to give you their opinion on it. So what makes that person's opinion so much more valuable than my opinion? Because that's all it is. It's an opinion. And we know in this society that we've been in the past 5 years now, with our leader being so negative and lying and so forth, a lot of it's coming out where folks are being bold, thinking they can say whatever they want to say. But I always say, if I'm saying something to help somebody and build someone rather than tearing them down, I should say it. And even I'm not going to let anyone waver my faith or what I believe in to be real. I believe in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but I know that it's He that strengthens me to do and say the things that I do. It's not me. So with that being said, that's why I wanted to take that.
Well, Marcus, we said it came back on to me from when you asked a question about, so what if, you asked about your significant other, wife, being vulnerable. How do you be vulnerable, or is it like a sign of weakness within that family? So are you afraid? I'm just ask a question. Are you afraid of what her perception of you may be, or might be tarnished?
Okay, so
Could you ask for help or something?
I don't necessarily feel like I can't talk to my wife. So, but I've done a lot of reading, whether it be, I've been jotting notes too, so I can chime in good, but whether it be Way of the Superior Man, the 3% Man, I've read all those type of books, right? And so in those books, it's basically leading, I guess, the younger generation, because I done told other people to read these books as well, but it's basically like, we're not supposed to, show that vulnerability in relationship, because women don't want to hear, right? They don't want to hear, oh, I can't do this, or they just want you to get it done. Going back originally what we were saying about being Superman. And so, through, I guess, growth, I've learned that, you have to divulge whatever, but it's still in the back of my mind, like, do she really want to hear this? Or is she looking at me like I'm weak? Like, just being real, like, is he weak? And so I don't know if I could tell her most stuff, most things or whatever, but I know I find myself holding back. And even with my friends, growing up, my parents would tell me all the time, you can't trust everybody. Some people, they find out stuff about you just to use it against you. And so that goes to the way I work and interact with people. I don't divulge everything. I can't do it, because that's just how I was raised. And, and I also, that goes into another thing about how I feel like the way you were raised plays a part in how you are as an adult. You know what I'm saying? Because I know he was speaking about earlier, saying that he was kind of, I guess, like shy, timid about his, being vocal or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's how I am. But it stems back from, I can remember being young. I ain't trying to talk bad about my mom and anything, but my mom would call me stupid. And you know, for the longest, it was hard for me to talk in front of people because I was, you know, trying to sound so intellectual and I was stumbling over my words. And I can remember being in school, actually at South Carolina State, I can remember being in school and Quint, one of my teammates, he called me stupid. And I couldn't hit my mom. I couldn't jump on my mom. But as soon as he said it triggered something, and I literally was trying to rip it apart, you know, but you know, luckily people got to me and then allowed that to happen. But you know what I'm saying? I just feel like a lot of how we was raised plays a part into how, you know what I'm saying, we go about life as an adult. So yeah.
Can I stop you for a second?
Go ahead.
You wanted to jump on him, right? Why did it make you so mad that he called you stupid?
Oh, I already know it came back from my, and I couldn't like, and it, as I got older, I eventually told her because she said it as I, you know what I'm saying, was an adult. She called me stupid and it was in a joking manner. I'm not stupid, you know, but go ahead.
You gave him power because you know that you're not stupid. That's just a thought.
Yeah, but I was in that time in my life, I was of the mindset, I'm gonna beat it out you. So if you come at me wrong, I'm gonna beat whatever it is out of you. That's what, and even now it's hard for me to have dialogue with a man because once it becomes combative, I have to remove myself because I already know where I'm gonna take it. You know what I'm saying? But I already know where I'm gonna go with it. So I just remove myself completely from the conversation. And I know it's not right and I know it's not good, but it's just what I'm at.
Yeah.
Well, I heard you talk about the relationship because my next door neighbor, he's in his late 30s, early mid 30s. He came over and talked to me. He was talking about his baby's mama, and he was just this and she's that, and I heard everything that he said. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, can you do this? Can you take the son away from her and give her some me time? Because understanding women, we're proud to be fathers, you know, but the thing that we don't consider is that women go through changes every month. And now when she becomes impregnated for 9 months, she goes through 9 months of physical and mental changes. And a lot of times we take postpartum as it doesn't exist, but it does exist. And I even told my son-in-law that I had to tell our granddaughter is 4 months old. And he called me about, yeah, she's gonna jump on you if you call her this and call her that. I said, when I left the airport, I told you, now you know how I feel about my daughter, because now you have 2 of my girls, my daughter and our granddaughter. Give her some space. You have to take up some of that slack because you have your chest stuck out. You're my daughter, but it's not your daughter, it's our daughter. So give her some time because she needs, when you married her, but when you met her, you had this fine little Coke bottle thing, you know, but now that body went in all directions. That messes with her psyche right there. Okay. The physical changes that she went through, that messes with her psyche. So now that the baby's here, she's also with the baby 24/7 again on the outside that needs care. So she cared for the baby while the baby was in the womb, but now the baby's here. She's gonna have to care for that baby also outside the womb because now she's that child's first teacher. I said it before, I'm a firm believer that mothers are first teachers. First breath of air, first love, first discipline, first mouth of food, mothers are there. And in some cases, it's not very few cases, but us as dads, we're secondary because now that baby's gonna take our place. I hate to say take our place, but you know, and the things that I shared with that young man to do, he did it. And he said, wow, coach, you know, he said that made a big difference. Said, I wasn't thinking about her. I was just thinking about myself. And that's the single man in us that comes up when we just start thinking about ourselves because we expect women to be super women. And when we talk about super men, but women go through a lot too that they don't share with us. So when you add the physical part of a woman in, that's not to even mention the mental part of it that we have to consider. So again, that's one of those moments where I had to apologize to my wife for not taking that into consideration. Because when I came in from work, I just want to hold the baby. I don't want to say, hey baby, how you doing today? You need anything? Let me do this, let me do that. That's a mistake that I made. So that's something. Be you, brother. You're a strong Black man. I mean, don't let anybody belittle you or make you think no less of yourself. Life is life, man. And how you approach it, I'm gonna tell you like the professor told me, say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, also don't underestimate the power of your words. Just like those words that were damaging to you, when you speak to others and you speak about them negatively, some of them have those lasting impacts on their lives as well. And so, I mean, it's a learning process, and it's a maturation process, and it only comes with experience. I mean, you experienced that and you know how that made you feel. So instead of passing that along to somebody else, you would be cautious with the things that you say because of the impact that it can have, on others. A lot of times, it's kind of a different era, and parents back then, I mean, they said all kind of things. And I mean, that was just, my father calls it tough love. I'm gonna say whatever, you might not like it, you might not, but it is what it is. You're under my roof, and that's how things are. And nowadays, especially with the generation that's coming up, everybody is so self-centered, you can't really talk to them the way that our parents taught them. You run them away quicker than anything. And so, as we experience and as we see things, and as we start to spend time with other men and they start to share their experiences, we'll learn how to deal with people in different environments, under different circumstances, and be able to speak in a manner that we can be heard and not be tuned out. Because a lot of times, just like whether it's somebody calling you stupid or ignorant or y'all just don't get it, they've already tuned you out. No matter what else you say, it can be the most meaningful thing in the world, but they've tuned you out because of the way that you approach the situation. So a lot of times it takes prayer, it takes understanding to be able to look at things from a different perspective, because we have a tendency to only think about how we see things. But if you're in a relationship or you're on a team or you're working with other people, when you blend that together with what other people think, that's when you can be most effective.
There was this saying or thing that was saying that when a person was in a ship that got shipwrecked and the guy was in the water and it's like, God's gonna save me. And then another ship came over, it's like, hey, come on, help. Nah, God's gonna save me, don't worry about it. And then another bigger ship came over, now God's gonna save me. The guy died, he drowned, right? Went to heaven, it's like, God, what happened? I thought you were gonna save me. I sent you 3 ships. You never used it.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that I don't want the men out there to get bogged down to again, that Superman thing that it's all about me, that I want to control everything, or thinking that that one entity is going to help me, but they don't show up, but yet they may have sent somebody else there to help you in your situation. But yet you're not taking advantage of that because you're so blinded to see it this one way, or to rely on one person to give me all the advice when there's a multitude of things. Now am I saying you got to take everybody's advice? No. But that's where the discernment comes in. To whatever's going to speak to you is going to speak to you. You take what you have to take out of that message being sent by somebody else and apply it. And somebody else is going to give you something else. You apply that other part to the message, and it'll make up that puzzle. It'll make it right plain. But yet, don't be into your own thing to think that, okay, I'm waiting for this one person to give me everything, or I'm going to do it all myself. And then you fall to the wayside, waiting for it to be a thing where, whether it's your wife, whether it's your friends, a friend, or whether it's your family members, or even a perfect stranger, who's experienced life and probably what you've gone through. It's like, hey, I've been there, young brother. And this is what I've learned through it. Now, you can take some of the things, you don't have to go the same path, but yet take some things that what I've learned and then add those in to build your pathway to the solution.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But like with me, I think, because my mom has said this in the past, and my parents have said this in the past, but they never really went in depth. And this is something I'm struggling with now. Don't get me wrong, now I'm good. I don't need nothing, but my parents struggle financially, right? as far as like, I guess, the way they handled their money. And I know I'm terrible with money. You know, I like to buy clothes. I like to whenever I blow it, right? But my parents never had those conversations. They never, you know what I'm saying? They never said, hey, you need to save, you need to put this in this funds, you need to do this, that, and the third. And so now, you know, you get into a marriage and it's crazy because I know my wife, she good with money. But I don't want to tell her like, hey, I'm gonna blow this money on this, that, and third of those things that I want. Right. And so I don't know, that's why I say like it spent and like my parents, they never opened up to say, okay, look, we're not good with money, but this is what you need to do, right? So since I ain't had those conversations, now that's a sore a soft spot for me, you know, to tell somebody, hey, I ain't good with my money. I'm going to blow it, right?
Mhm. Well, I think that, and this kind of leads me to that next little spot that I was thinking about. And it comes down to how bad do you want it? You know, like the things that may come up in life that we face, challenges and struggles and the trials and tribulations. How bad do you want your breakthrough? You know, and I think that those are the things that we face when I think about having to wear the cape. It is dealing with the challenges, the struggles, the stress, the even the success in life. Those are all the things that make us or have us to have to wear that cape or feeling like we have to keep on the cape. So how are we all managing the stress, the trials, the tribulations, the joys of life? And I think of the different areas as men that we face. Again, we face that circle of men, you know, in terms of being men, around men. We deal with our relationships, you know, if you're dealing with relationships in terms of with women. If you're a parent, you have to deal with relationships, you know, dealing with parenting and our stress that we face from society. What are the negative images? How are we managing, again, our finances? Because we are the #1 spenders in the world. We don't budget. We don't do well with our money across, if we're talking about us as Black folks. But just dealing with all of those particular areas and perspectives of life, how do we manage the stress that comes with that? And in what areas are we keeping on the cape too long?
I think relating back to what he was saying as far as finances are concerned, I mean, if you've already kind of given yourself the solution, your wife is the better person with finance. So, I mean, that's a discussion that you have to have. Hey, babe, you know, you mind taking care of, you know, us putting us on a budget, you know, and then work that out within. And then that way, if she's better at something than what you are, guess what? That's your helpmate. So you allow her to take on the finance. That don't make you less of a man. That make you a much smarter man. Because guess what? Just like Adi was saying, that's a cape you ain't got to wear. That's something that you don't have to worry about, because if she's better with finances, you know, if everything comes through and she's the one that's showing as far as paying the bills and what's left over and what's left in savings, you know, that can carry, that's one less thing that you got to worry about. There's strengths that you have that she's weak in. And so but through conversation and being able to be vulnerable, her with you and then also you with her, y'all can work those things out. So you don't have to carry all of that, you know, by yourself. And I mean, there are so many different courses that you can go online with as far as finance and saving and investing and things like that. I mean, some parents, I mean, they don't, you know, teach us those things, but I mean, now we're grown men. And if there's just, like I say, how bad do you want it? It's just a matter of making choices. And so you read a couple of books, look at a couple of videos, get around some people, ask some questions, you know, get with a financial planner and tell them what your goals are, and then have the discipline to follow through with those goals. But I mean, it's one thing for us to say, you know, what's wrong or what we, you know, what our parents didn't do. But then as we're adults and then we're raising kids as well, you know, and you want to give them the accurate information. So guess what? You don't let that become a generational curse where it was like that for my dad and my dad's dad and my dad's dad. You go ahead and you make that change. And from this point on, guess what? Your kids are going to be financially responsible because you took the time to educate yourself. And then also your parents didn't share with you, but guess what? You acknowledge that. So now you make that change for the next generation so that guess what? They do know how to save their money. They do know how to spend and what's an investment versus what is needs and wants and, different things. There's nothing wrong with getting some of the things that you want, but then at the same time too, your responsibilities have to be taken care of first. And so once you make that change and educate yourself, then you can educate your kids. And so it's not the same cycle repeating itself. A lot of times we fall victim to, well, that's just the way that, my family is. Nah, that can change with you. You just have to make the decision and then, get out there and educate yourself and then do it. And then get around other people that have been through similar situations. A lot of times we talk about, being comfortable with family, like Ty was talking about, with our cousins and stuff like that. We have somewhat of a different view of it. I'm comfortable and cool with them, but they relate more to the person that I was growing up. I'm not that person anymore. A lot of those stories and the different things we get together and you talk about the past, I don't really identify with that person anymore because I have none of those same things. I've outgrown those things. And sometimes I feel like when you get around, family members, whether it be cousins or people that you're close to growing up, they're in love with that person that you were back then. And they haven't grown to the point where you can have a different conversation. You shouldn't always get around people and the conversation is the same. We're all growing and maturing. And I like to think that some of our conversations should reflect that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do a plug here. Our book, Two Mindset of Men, had to kind of go into the same concept where it comes down to most people, a lot of women don't like to hear the terminology of roles, but is the expectations. When you have that communication, you talk about the expectations, and then you talk about the roles, and those roles are pretty much based upon who is good at what. And then not saying that you're going to take a full back seat, but yet you're going to take this role. I'm going to be there in the lane to watch what you do so I can get better at it. But let them take over that role. If her better thing is finances, let her take that role of finances, like Stephen said. But then stay in the back, stay right there close to, so you're learning as the process, and you can go on the outside and learn some other stuff, but learn the process. So then eventually, then you can come back into that conversation again when you meet back up after 3 years or 4 years. So listen, okay, let's look at our expectations for our life going forward. And then, okay, now you don't have to take on that role. So I'm gonna lessen your plate. I can go in, I can insert myself into that plate now. And then now you can take another role that's going to help us out. And then, that's where your role things come into place. And it's going to be interchanging, maybe not in a year, but in 2 or 3 years, those roles are going to change out somehow, some way. But never be afraid, to me, to talk to your significant other, because again, help me.
Yeah. And this thing that's keep kind of in my back of my mind is helping folk who are listening. Mm-hmm. And I think if everyone on here can share, to your comfort level, what has been the negative consequence of wearing a cape? We got to connect with somebody out there that don't realize that they are in the midst of the consequence of keeping a cape on too long. And some of y'all have already shared the challenges within your marriage. Was that a result of the cape? And if so, just share a little bit, and everybody can jump in. What have you faced? Because I think some of the things that we are looking at and have seen for quite some time amongst men is we end up being stressed out. We have mental health issues because we are not releasing or taking off the cape. So if everybody can kind of share what keeping the cape on has done.
Well, with me, I know that just like what I referred back to, when me and my wife had the divorce, first time, I call it first time around, second time around. First time around, I just felt all this pressure and isolation. It was all on me, and if things weren't going right, you turn to alcohol, you turn to the worst thing that you can do as a man. I would say the most dangerous thing that you can do is, with me, just like I said, I've been a barber for so long. You start to talk to other people, other women about the issues that you have in your problem. Guess what? They're always going to have the solution. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's always going to be better. The grass is always going to be greener on the other side, because guess what? You're telling them what you don't like. So naturally they go fit that. I can do that. You know what I'm saying? I can be that. But guess
Yeah.
what? You get with them and there's a whole set of other problems that, you know,
Yeah.
and you just have to learn that being a man isn't going to be easy. And it
Amen.
ain't supposed to be easy.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're going to struggle. I mean, some of us go turn to alcohol. Some of us, because I turned to alcohol. Some of us could have dealings with other women. I made those same mistakes. And thank God that, you know, he was able to restore me and to allow me to overcome all those obstacles. But guess what? I came back in and had a different appreciation for things because I realized I was chasing something I already had. And a lot of times, you know, we have to look at our situations. And I mean, sometimes, just like I said, somebody can talk, but until you experience it for yourself and be like me and lose pretty much everything before you, and you realize I had everything I wanted and needed, and I lost it. And then, I mean, just like I said, some people never get that back, but I was blessed to be able to get it back. And because I was able to, guess what? I cherished that. I had to take classes and learn how to do things that I thought I knew how to do. But one thing that I've learned now, if it's me, guess what? I'm on the way down. I have to look at things from a different perspective, and I have to seek godly counsel, and I have to put him first. And then he's going to help me to prioritize and put everything in perspective. But I mean, I've made those mistakes, the alcohol, the relationships. You figure that you can, you know, put yourself in a situation and you're so strong that, you know, you can say whatever. Nah, and trust me, it'll bite you. And a lot of times you don't even realize that the dependency is already, you know, started, because it's like I say, if you're not talking to your wife and you start talking to another woman about your problems, guess what? That's going to be an issue, because when you have problems, you can lean on her instead of leaning on your wife. And you're telling the wrong person all the issues that you have. That stuff needs to be worked out, you know, in-house. And so, you know, it's a slippery slope. And just like I said, affairs and stuff like that don't happen overnight. It's something that becomes a relationship, and we're relational, whether we want to realize it or not. You start confiding in somebody or sharing or spending time with somebody, could be just hanging out. You know, if you're drinking, hanging out, you see somebody at the bar, they're at the bar the same time that you are there every week. Guess what? Before you know it, y'all start chit-chatting, and one thing leads to another. But, you know, you have to guard your mind, guard your heart, and you have to trust your actions and understand that ultimately life is full of choices. You can make good choices or you can make bad choices. And ultimately, you know, that's on us. We're the ones that make those mistakes. And we're the ones that feel like sometimes we feel like we're justified for doing what we're doing because, quote unquote, our needs aren't being met, or because I don't feel that, I don't, I do this, I do that, and they don't appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you feel like that, but you just have to realize that it's not about you. If you have a family, that family is a bigger responsibility than you. And sometimes, just like I say, you start having kids and you start feeling, well, you're not getting the attention that you were used to, and I'm doing all this work, but man, I can't even spend no time with my wife. We can't even go to the movies. You can't even go out for the weekend and none of that stuff. But I mean, life is about seasons, and you have to look. And what I learned was, if it means so much to you to have those weekends and that quality time with your wife, guess what? You're gonna have to find a trustworthy babysitter, and you're gonna have to do extra things in order to guard that time. But you have to give them that time, and it's not gonna be an easy thing. It's gonna be sacrificing. And the biggest thing that I think that men fall victim of, you don't feel that you have to sacrifice. It's not about us. It's about the others that we love and taking care of them. And because when we see them happy and we see them satisfied, your joy is going to come from that, because that's going to make you feel good about the sacrifices, about working the long hours, about doing those things. And you'll be able to enjoy the time that you have with them, because you've known it's nothing like going to bed and having a clear conscience, not worrying about if what you did the day before is going to catch up with you tomorrow. You know, it makes you feel good to be able to sleep good at night, to not have to worry about if that phone is going to ring and it's going to be a girl that you was dealing with, or this, that, and other, or the phone is going to ring and, you know, one of your partners that you was hanging out with last night didn't make it home and had an accident drinking and driving. I mean, the actions that you have an impact on your life, and it makes you feel good, especially at the end of a long week when you can sit down and you can rest easy, knowing that you've made good decisions. And because you've made good decisions, none of that stuff is gonna, come back and haunt you.
One of the things that I had to struggle with was, I'm a very competitive person, so I guess that's come from both sides of my family. But it's the job. get so engulfed with in my area of being a coach at the time, a head coach at some points. It's like you're trying to build this program up, and I was so engulfed in building a program and building it up to the things that I lost track of. Everything was invested, my time. I'll be there sometimes 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and then come back in there 8 o'clock in the morning. It's like, and it all goes on to the weekend. So I was so engulfed with the making of I guess my name, making of the program itself, that you lose track of life, time, people. And those are some things that, that plagued me and struggled me, that so engulfed with everything. I put I sacrifice health. I'm wondering why all the stress is on me, why health is going down and certain things. I still got this so-called stress cough. I've had a cold one time when I was going through a stress, but now this comes in when I know I'm stressed, is when I get this cough, and I know it's not a cold. So I was like, okay, I got to bring down my levels of stress. So, and there's some things that I had to learn through time. And then I spread this over to one other coach, Coach Cooper, that we were winning championships at Bethune-Cookman. And it's like, hey, and we were ready back in on time. Like, hey, you got to enjoy the moment. Sometimes you got to, it's like, take it from experience, enjoy the moment while it's here. Don't get ready to go right into the next project or the next project or the next project, or to try to make it better. Learn how to enjoy the moment and for yourself, and learn how to enjoy that with other people, so they can feel what you're going through, and it relieve a lot of the stresses that's going on in your life. And so those are some things that I've struggled with, and I'm in a great place now that hey, I'm off work.
Man, I thought I was the only one who went through that. Both of you guys just explained me. They always say, "Mama ain't happy, nobody happy in the house."
Amen. Amen.
One thing that I've learned too, the young man was talking about spending. I had to hone in some things because I had to prioritize. When the kids come and ask for something, I always ask them, I don't like to ask you a question with a question, but is it a need or a want? Because as your father, as your parents, if you need something in order to function in society, it's our responsibility to make sure that you have what you need in order to function in society and learn. If it's something that you just want, that means life can go on without it. It's just, that's all it is. It becomes a reward later on. So they got in the habit of not asking for anything. I've had to ask, do you need anything? Do you need anything? The daughter recently told Dad, I learned, look, if I don't need it, we don't have to have it. So, that was something that I took over, because I used to let the wife take care of all the bills and everything, because I was always gone. And I'm like, hey, I need to step back and take over. Not say take over, but be the man of this house and take care of the financial responsibilities here, because I married somebody's daughter and promised to take care of her, because I didn't want to go to her mom and say, I need this, or her uncles, anybody that said we need this, etc. It was my job to provide. So I've always hoped that I've been a good provider for my family.
All right. Now with that, Brother Kemp, now what has it been like when you've had the cape and you kept it on too long? What has been the consequence? What has been that negative result?
Somebody who said that they're Christian but they cuss.
That's me.
I have a theory I call it HSD, hell shitting down. Hell shitting down. But I mean, I remember Job, reading about Job. If Job can endure it, I can endure it also. A brother was talking about being away from home, trying to help and appease everybody else. And I had to step back and remember, you can't help everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you allow God to help you where you can. And being in this community so long, everybody always asks, you know everybody. I said, well, when you get to know people, you look at life as being a resource to help someone else. And I've had to learn how to say no to a lot of things. And even at my church, I've had to back off some things there because when they figured that I was retired, everybody was coming, brother, can you do this? Can you do this? No, let's back up. We have too many capable bodies around here that are just as capable of doing so. Let's involve everybody in this process. So the major thing is I can't forget about taking care of home first before I start taking care of everything else outside the home. Because when mama ain't happy, ain't nobody gonna be happy.
Nobody happy.
Nobody. So keeping mama happy is a priority. And she's OCD, undiagnosed.
Jamal, anything?
You're not gonna publicize that Brother Price.
Well, you recorded.
Oh yeah. It's recorded. It's ready to go.
Well, you can cut that part out. I don't want her to hear that part, you know, because like I said, we gotta keep mama happy.
Hey. But you know
That's
what?
all, all those days. Man, I look at life like this right here. You know, I'm on the downside of a half century, and every day that I'm here, I'm blessed. Because like I tell the guys coming from basketball practice, I always tell them, I said, I used to go leap tall buildings in a single bounce like Superman. Now if I can tiptoe, I'm happy. But life is great. You know, I try not to focus on the things that are negative. I focus on the positive. And what can I do to make somebody happy? Because with me, you see 5 others like me, we act plumb fools everywhere we go. Anytime, you know, there go them Kemp boys because they're acting a fool again. Well, guess what? I can't be sad about nothing. My father lived to be 33 years old when he died, and here I am 62. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed above and beyond.
Jamal?
For me, one of the consequences of having to keep on too long that I've experienced, and if you ask me, I would agree with it, but it was more so my wife that pointed out. She was like, she asked me if I was depressed. And I was like, I didn't, at the time, I was like, no, I'm not depressed. I don't think so. But now looking back on it, I probably was in a state of depression. And it was a few years ago. I mean, I was at my heaviest. I was like 320. Bad, unhealthy eating habits. Again, I thought I had the cape on though. You know, I thought I was taking care of everybody around me, but I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yeah.
So I think I was in a state of depression. But what I found as a born again Christian, and this I had to learn this too when I first joined my church. Like the more I went to church, the more I wanted to go to church. But it wasn't until I fully surrendered and opened up in worship that I felt that release. And that helped me so much, was worshiping God amongst fellow Christians of the same faith, and openly worship, not just because I used to just sit back there, oh, praise Jesus, thank you, Lord. But then when I really started connecting and digging in and connecting with my congregation, that's when I really, and then during worship service, to openly just worship God and just open worship, that was my release. And then the problem I ran into over the past 2 years was the pandemic. We couldn't go to church. So I didn't have that. So I didn't have that, you know, I couldn't, that was, you know, because we were in a pandemic. When am I going to church and stuff?
Yeah.
So what I had to learn was in my private time, I had to learn, because it's easy to worship God in the atmosphere. But what I had to learn was when it was just me and God, that's when I can really open up. And that's what I had to learn, is that to open up not only in a community setting, but also when it's just you and God, you need to open up too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think that all of us, I guess, have experienced those moments. And, you know, I want to hear what the youngest brother on here, what are some of the challenges you face by keeping the cape on?
I kind of internalize most things. You know, like I
Okay.
spoke on earlier, my circle is real small. So for the most part, I'm not divulging a lot. But what I have noticed, and one thing my doctor picked up on is I've had high blood pressure probably since high school. I don't really know, but I can remember first year in college, I failed the physical because my pressure was too high. But
Okay.
what I've noticed,
Mm.
like I want to say the weeks leading up to marriage, before my son was born, me thinking it was, you know, thinking I needed a new job, things of that nature, my pressure shoot through the roof. You know, so not talking with my wife or talking with I guess a close friend, you know what I'm saying, telling them what's going on with me and internalizing everything, my pressure shoots up. And so that's where I would see, you know what I'm saying, that change.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
this is something that, you know, I know Jamal, you hit on, and now when I think about it now, it's like, I think for a lot of males, you know, we don't really know what depression looks like. We hear the word, you know, and we're probably, and it's probably 85% of the males are going through depression, but don't know what it is and don't know what, you know, we hear the word, we understand it, and we think that's somebody weak.
Mhm.
But the strong are encompassed with the depression is just we're trying to mask it so much because one, we don't realize what it is, and but then when we go into our little corner by ourselves, like, man, that's so tough, and so tough, that's part of depression. You know, and we again, that Superman cape is like, okay, I got to be strong because I don't want nobody to think that this is going to happen, or I had these thoughts on this or these thoughts on that. That, and it's hurting hurting the men out there, and a lot of things are going to the wayside now. So I think it's something that we have to be able to have that experience to release and talk. So my question is, you know, now that we talk about the different things, what does the release look like or sound like? How are we going out and releasing some of these pressures or some of these tensions that's on us? What does that look like? And you know, so other people can understand it. That this is one avenue of how you can go out to release these tensions.
I know with me, I didn't understand it until I actually did it because it doesn't make natural sense. When you're feeling bad or depressed or whatever the case might be, if you get up and do something for somebody, that takes that away. It doesn't make any sense in the natural, but if you just help somebody, I mean, and it could be the slightest thing. It could be doing something for your neighbor, cutting the, I mean, whatever it is that you do for somebody that's in need, it changes the focus and let you know it's not all about you. There are people out here that are going through a lot worse things than what you are. And just like I said, by living your life in a consistent manner, it makes you feel good and gives you a peace of mind to be able to sleep well at night because you know you ain't getting over on nobody. You ain't trying to, you know, swindle anybody. You're not trying to make it off of somebody else's labor. You know, you're going out there, honest day's work, honest day's pay, taking care of your family and doing the right things. I mean, it pays dividends. It's the little things that you do that set positive wheels in motion to be able to make things happen. Everybody thinks it's this big grand thing that you do, but just being the best that you are where you are, helping those people that are around you, I mean, it makes a huge difference. And it doesn't make sense, but when you're going through something, if you go and extend yourself and help somebody else, you wouldn't believe that release that you get from that.
Mm-hmm.
I know it might sound crazy, brothers, but depression has been one of the hardest things for me to understand. Brother that just spoke, what you're saying about helping someone else, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I refuse to be depressed. I just love seeing people happy. You know, just example, even with kids around me, kid will walk by and call because I'm big on respect. the word respect means something or someone that you look up to in honor and high regard. And when I'm dealing with kids with that, I always take, let me have your cell phone. And I'll take that cell phone like I'm going to throw it, they'll jump. I'm like, okay, that's something. One thing I need you to understand, this thing can be replaced. It says something or someone that you look up to in honor and high regard. Honor, you hold them in high esteem. It means more than anything in the world to you other than Jesus Christ. And so the other, he said someone, you're talking about people. So that's why I'm saying it's hard for me to understand depression. My wife understands it totally, and I have to sympathize with her for her to understand. But just seeing people happy, it does something to me that I can't even explain. The kids in the hallway, the kid will go, they'll call me by my first name, particular guys, and I'll turn around and go, that's what your mama said last night. So the other guys will hear it and go, ooh. I said, make sure you tell your mom what I said now, because you started it and I'm going to end it. So you ask her, did you hear that coming from her house last night? So just something crazy like that to get them to laugh. And the other thing is that when we talked about being afraid, there was a young lady someone committed suicide, and I told her, said, life still goes on, but you have to get from behind the tree, because you can't see the forest for the tree. If you continue to stand behind this tree, you can't see all the great, big, beautiful things around you. So take a step back, look to your right, look to your left. See all those trees, see all the things around you. Those are things that are waiting to be, look at life that way. Faith is believing in the things unknown. You have to have that inner faith to understand that if I do this, expect something good. Now, there's going to be some bad that's going to happen in between, but how you act or react to the bad is going to determine your faith. But let's look at the positive. The things that we know, we need to take control of that and continue to build on that. The things that are weak, we need to make sure we work on building those things, because kids think that, well, teachers aren't teaching anything. Well, if the teachers are not teaching anything, why couldn't you tell me about this before? Because obviously they've given you something you didn't know before coming in here. So, because if you know everything that you need to know, guess what? You don't need to be here. And if you're saying that my teacher can't teach, well, let me see your high school diploma. Let me see your college degree. Let me see your Georgia teaching certificate. And then I want to see your paycheck stub signed by the superintendent. That tells me that you're on my staff. And I mean, you're not on you are on my staff, because if you don't have all of those things, you're just a student here. So with all that being said, it may sound crazy to you guys, but when it comes to depression, it's really hard for me to understand that. Really hard. I understand that it's a medical condition for some, it's inherited, etc. But life is life. If we all were the same, this would be one boring world to deal with. One boring world. So solving problems is part of life that helps us to grow, that helps us to build relationships, and mainly be able to give back to someone what was given to us, and that's an opportunity. If that makes sense to y'all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, and touching on the back end of that for Coach Kemp, is not everyone, I guess, even for folks that are going to be looking at this, they're not going to be able to potentially, like you say, relate to depression. But as we look at some other folks and understand that it is indeed real, it may not ever be a part of our reality, because I'm in that simple sort of spot where I believe that, I don't know, I'm the eternal optimist. I believe in that miracle. Matter of fact, I'm sitting here waiting right now. A miracle will happen in the next minute. That's how I live, and that's what I believe. And every time something may sort of pull me in that direction, I manage to pull myself out. But not everybody has that, I don't want to say necessarily innate ability, but some other people got other, like I said, everybody got their thing. Some people turn to, if it's drinking or you snorting or you smoking or whatever that thing is, you looking for that feel good. Maybe it's you're a womanizer, because that's what brings you your feel good. So everybody gonna have their little something that they tend to turn to when they are dealing with that cake being on too long. And I
Right.
think we just heard that sometimes it's a mental health issue that we end up running into with the cape on, or it ends up manifesting itself into a physical thing.
Right.
You know, well, now we're dealing with high blood pressure and you know, that again, hypertension, and we talking about heart issues, and we talking about our diabetes. All those things are magnified when we are stressed. And
Right.
research has already shown that Black men in particular, we get more stressed than anybody because the world is bringing a whole different set of obstacles toward us. So we dealing with the world issues, but we still dealing with the world issues as Black men. So I
Right.
think that you know, us not having to wear that cape and being able to find the space to take it off is important. Now, and as I speak, and I look at life, and this is what I want to be able to share with other people, that as a coach, what helps our athletes get better? What's something that we try to include in everything today as they grow and develop? How do we see them or get them to that next level of performance, elevating and sustaining? One of them, the number one thing that come to mind is strength and conditioning, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
if we want to get bigger, faster, stronger, we got to get them in the weight room. And you got to look
Right.
at that in terms of life in sport. In life, we want to get better. We want to advance in our careers. We want to see advancement in so many different areas. But how are we going to go about getting bigger, faster, stronger in life? The Lord in life brings us situations. It brings us the challenges, the trials, the tribulations. I look at that as the weight room. Those are the dumbbells. Those are the plates. Those are the barbells that we are being given in terms of life. We're not getting up under that bench like we do necessarily in the weight room, but we have to take that the same mentality. And if you're trying to get to your PR in the weight room, what's one thing you want to make sure you have if you're getting under that bench? What you want to make sure you have if you're trying to take your max from 225 to 275? A spotter. And again, y'all follow me. In life, you need to have a spotter. And everybody here been a spotter for somebody in the weight room? Right? Now, there's a difference between, as I tell folks, there's a difference between being a spotter and using the bench. I want to be a spotter. I'm not here to do curls with 275, brother. You know what I'm saying? Some people get up under something, they know they can't handle it, and now they want you to pick the whole 275 off of them. And I say it's the same thing when we have to take our issues to people around us. Every area of your life, you need to have a spotter. Your circle of boys, somebody in that group got to be a spotter. But at home, it need to be, again, your wife or whoever it is that you've identified as a spotter in these different areas of importance in your life. But the key is, don't turn them into somebody that has to curl all your weight. Give people enough that it provides you, just like in the weight room of life, it gives you enough so that the weight don't come crashing down on your chest. That's when we start to face issues as men wearing the cape. We try to hold it all instead of giving somebody just enough. Just to get it, I need to rack it. I need somebody in your life that can help you rack that weight and you can get up from under that bench. Because I think at some point, most of us have had that situation where I tried it by myself and now I end up having to lower it down on my chest and now I got to roll it down my leg when I should have just got a spotter. But you know what stops us from getting a spotter sometimes in the weight room? Sometimes it's ego. Like I don't want nobody to think I can't get this. Now,
Right.
would you rather deal with one person that even if they thought you were weak, one person thinking you weak, or that whole gym watching you roll out to the ambulance? I'd rather deal with that one person that may say, "Oh, dude, we weak as I don't know what." Yeah, but you know what? They had to call EMS to come get me. But again, I keep wanting us to relate this to life, right? Don't feel like you got to carry too much to the point, you know, as brother said with the hypertension. Now somebody got to come to your house and get you. Now they taking you to the ER when all you had to do was lighten that load, give some to your spotter. And I think that's what we just got to maintain as men. Use your spotter, find your spotter, just like you're going to get up under that weight and that bench. You got to find yourself a spotter because again, life is going to keep bringing us stuff, y'all. It ain't going to stop, right? But don't get too much under the weight that you can't get it up off of yourself, but make sure you got a spotter.
Right.
Deep. Deep. or, you know, this topic has been so enriching to, I just love hearing what you brothers have to say. And I think I'm gonna have to do a part 2 to this. So we're going to end it on that note, but understand there's going to be a part 2 of this, and we're going to go into a lot more topics. We need to hit these youth. We need to hit and building all the way up through to young adults to get to adults, and then some of those young adults who feel like they're the man. Understand that, hey, there's 80-year-old men out there who still are learning in this game. Understand that the Superman cape has to come off. You have to be able to be Clark Kent, be him. But there's times where you're going to be that go-to guy and the man of steel. But understand that you don't want to be your own kryptonite.
Exactly.
So again, thank you to my panel for coming in for this discussion. I'm going to invite you again for the second level. You can join in. I know we're going to try to have a couple more people in, but I hope that you out there in the universe take heed to a lot of things that were said. This discussion was meant for you. It's not just, it's meant for us too, because we go through things too that you heard. So hopefully that's something you take it out of this, and you're going to really live life to the fullest.